Welcome to INCA Architect. INCA Architect is a new, easy-to-use APC package for assisting you in making configurations for INCA MPC and INCA Sensor Online. INCA Architect is a powerful tool you can use for configuration and simulation of your APC controller. Developing an APC application is very easy and fast when you use INCA Architect. In this demo, we are going to start with showing you how to import an existing model. Open INCA Architect and click on the Import tab. Then select the type of file you want to import. For this demo, we'll select Model. Browse for the model file and click Open. Once the model is imported, you will see under the General menu some information such as application name and mode. Click on the model, and under the Details, INCA Architect shows you some information of imported model. These details include sampling interval, model length, time to steady state, and so on. Under the Variables menu, you can see the independent variables and dependent variables. Disturbance variables are not defined automatically, so you have to tell INCA Architect which variables are going to be used as DVs. This can be easily done, and it will be explained later on. Click on the Metrics to inspect the model metrics. Now, let's check the structure of an APC application. Click on the structure and select Variables. As you can see, INCA Architect presents you in a friendly way all the variables which have been created from the model file. Variables include MVs and CVs. As we mentioned earlier, we need to define the disturbance variables. To do so, go to the variable list, select the variable you want to define as disturbance, select switch type, and choose DVs. Now, let's assume you want to define a subcontroller for the application. In order to do so, select the Subcontrollers option, and in the right-hand side, click on the plus button. Give it a name and description, and that's it. Easy, right? In the Variable Assignment window, select the MVs, DVs, and CVs for the new subcontroller. Congratulations! You have already configured your first subcontroller. Let's continue inspecting INCA Architect and its functionality. Let's move to the Parameters menu. In the right-hand side window, you'll see all the variables parameters. Here you can change the parameters values. For example, you could define which MVs or CVs would be critical for your application, and also you could specify variables limits and some initial tunings. In the right-hand side, INCA Architect gives you the possibility to insert, move up, move down, or delete any variable with just one simple click. Let's switch to Communication menu. Here you can see how INCA Architect and the OPC Server communication is defined. Select Servers and define the OPC Server. Define Program ID, update rate, and manufacturer. For our case, we'll define a Yokogawa OPC server. In INCA Architect, it's very easy to insert or delete an OPC server. Just click on Insert or Delete button in the right-hand side and it's done. MVs for INCA MPC are often the set point of PID loop. Checking that the loop is in the right mode and that the set point can be moved freely is difficult to do in an efficient way. Fortunately, INCA comes with built-in support for PID loops and other relevant functional blocks for all common DCS systems. You simply add a multi-mapping to the configuration, select variable, select type of block and how you will be using it, and INCA takes care of the rest. For the INCA Architect, it's very easy to define a multi-mapping to the configuration, select variable, select type of block and how you will be using it, and INCA takes care of the rest. for the process values of CVs and other parameters, and simply read or write if an OPC tag is needed. You can exchange a value in INCA MPC with the DCS OPC server by creating a mapping. The mapping is created in the Mappings menu. Select Add a new mapping. Choose Variable, for which a new mapping will be created, and fill in the information, such as attribute, OPC tag, and direction. You can repeat the process for other variables and other parameters. Often, there is a pattern in these mappings. Instead of adding these mappings one by one, you can also define a recipe that describes how mappings are going to be generated for several variables and parameters, and how the OPC tag must be configured in each case. Recipes are also dynamic. If you add variables to your configuration, the extra mappings are generated immediately according to the recipe you have defined. Here you can see one of predefined recipe. INCA Architect allows you to create your own calculations. In typical scenario, such calculations are not necessary, but if you need them, it can be easily done. Here we show you what such a calculation would look like. Now, do you want to export a configuration? There is no problem. INCA Architect offers you this possibility. Go to the Main menu, click on the Export tab, and select which part of the project you wish to export. For this video, the entire INCA MPC configuration will be exported. The exported file is all you need to add an INCA MPC or INCA sensor to INCA Online. INCA Architect doesn't need to be installed on the computer where you're planning to use the online environment. If there is any configuration errors, INCA Architect would not allow you to export the configuration and would definitely tell you to correct the errors.